But back in the mid-60s, there was a lot of scuba diving going on up here, and of course commercial fishing, and people had the local people had a kind of a dream or a vision of putting together the artifacts that they've been finding.
I'm Mark Weborg, a fourth generation commercial fisherman in the Gills Rock area. I'm 66 years old. My dad was one of the founding members of the Door County Maritime Museum.
It was a community project, and so people pitched in and got together. But yeah, there was fundraising included membership. So people bought their memberships, and we had lifetime memberships that we sold back then. And we'd have a fish boil, and I did a couple of cruises on our passenger boat to fundraise. So it was not easy, but it got done.
But to be here when they cut the ribbons and saw the first people walking in to tour the museum was it was very satisfying and very enjoyable to see.
It was exciting, you know, and of course when it's all local people mostly that are involved with putting it together, well, you know, it was a big deal, and people turned out, and we had the opening, and it was fun and exciting.
I just enjoyed it. And I particularly enjoyed the people coming in, and particularly people with young kids.
We affectionately call it the Old Museum. It was located adjacent to Sunset Park and Bay Shipbuilding Company. It was a two-story, 2,000 square foot building, and attached to the building was the pilot house from the steamship Elba, which is now at the current museum.
People described it as a garage sale or an attic, and it was lots of cool artifacts, very little signage, but each artifact had at least one label on it, and that was a red Dymo label tape.
People come in. Oh, what was really fun was to have somebody come in who used to work for Captain John Roan, because the Sturgeon Bay location down at Sunset Park was Cap Roan's old office. And it would be fun when somebody would come in who used to work for Captain John Roan, and they'd say, I stood right here. This is where I got my paycheck, from Cap Roan's office.
When I came into the museum, my first goal was to secure things that were outside that, while not critical, I felt it was important to rearrange the best I could to get things inside from the back part of the museum. Then I worked on labels, slow but sure, trying to get things organized.
I spent a lot of time dealing with the public, providing photographs and just basic information for books and TV shows and magazines and what have you. So, or somebody would come in that just out of the blue that you didn't know was going to come, and you have really special conversations with those people. So
I was curator for 7 years, starting in 1990 through 1996. I knew C. Ray Christensen for years. Go in the museum and we'd talk. He had me do a display on our family, and he was quite a guy. I remember he had a big ship's horn, and there was a sign there that said, blow the ship's horn for 25 cents. And it would be funny, I'd be talking to him in the lobby, and all of a sudden this loud ship horn would just shatter your eardrums, and some kid or adult would have pushed the button and he'd yell out, 25 cents. And that was kind of the old days. It was a ma and pa type museum.
Between Doug having his office in the basement of the Ace Hardware and Dan Osted working there, owning it, I think they put their heads together and really spearheaded the idea of it, and it just went from there.
Well, obviously this wasn't going to be, you know, a cheap endeavor, so we wanted to make it be a really nice facility. We wanted it to be top-notch, and with its position where it's located, being right on the waterfront, we wanted it to be attractive because we knew it was going to be a prominent position in the city. when you think about where it all started, and I think you have to go up, obviously you have to go up to the northern part of the peninsula, and you have to look at the Weberg family, and you have to look at, at Charlie Voigt and some of these people that were directly involved in the initial creation of the museum. Then you have Ray Christensen down in Sturgeon Bay who saw the connection between Sturgeon Bay and with the Gills Rock operation.
And then the tugboat came along, the John Purvis came along, and then trying to fit that according to the period of time, and then the museum itself. So there are many areas that we had to be working on all at the same time.
In 2003, the tug needed a lot of work on the hull and on the engines, and so Andre just didn't think they wanted to put any more money in the old vessel, so they were going to scrap it. And then they remembered Asher being interested in it, so they called the Maritime Museum and said they'd give it to him if they wanted it. So John Asher flew over to Muskegon, Michigan to look at it, thought they could fix it up, towed it back here, and 5.5 years later, 26,000 volunteer hours and almost $1 million, and now it was restored to the way it looked like when Rowan owned it. And
it's pretty amazing to be 100 years old and still be in as good a shape as the tug is in. Some of the first things when people come aboard and you tell them how old it is, they sometimes don't believe you, but then we tell them it's restored and brought back.
Now seeing what a draw Caney Island is and how that all came to pass, and the thousands of people that go through there every year, that's satisfying.
It is the visitors. It's the visitor who comes in and maybe when they leave, they've got a little bit more appreciation for not only lighthouses but some of the history of Dorr. It's walking the island, knowing that you're walking in the footsteps of the same keepers who were here in 1869. It's opening up the house. It's, once the tower became part of our, not only restoration, but part of our exhibit, it's climbing those same 97 cast iron stairs that Keeper Jackson walked up April 1 of 1870.
the Maritime Museum has just been a wonderful, wonderful organization for a long time. And you think of where it came from, it was a little office down where Rowan had his office on the other side of Bay Ship, and then it came here, and it was kind of a gutsy move for him to build this in those days, but it all has panned out, that's for sure.
Categorizing and bringing information in and being good stewards to what's happening today. So I would ask the people 5 years from now or 10 years from now to continue that process, so that the people 50 years from now will have some sense of who we are.
Now, people change over those 50 years, but you know what? The mission and direction of the museum hasn't. It's the collection of the history of Door County, how it came to be. Oh, not so much in terms of pioneering, but without water access, this would be a whole totally different county.
We're probably as rich in maritime history as we are in any other kind of history here in the county. So hopefully people understand that, and that's really the job of the museum, is to try to get that message out and have them understand exactly how important that is. And if we can make it fun and entertaining for the younger kids that grow up through here, and that they get an appreciation for what it is, I think it has a bright future.
If you have any interest in preserving something, and especially the maritime history, get involved.
We've come a long ways, and I'm very proud of what we've accomplished.
Hopefully this will carry on for the next 100 years.
The challenge is this: that history doesn't go away. The history and story of the people who grew, who built, who inhabited this area is tied directly to the waters around us. That then is the mission of this museum today and 50 years out.